Private equity regulation. Now, traditionally, private equity was an industry which was totally unregulated, and the reason for this was that most private equity regulations, or rather most fund regulations in most countries, are designed for mutual funds, and they're designed to protect small investors or the ordinary citizens' savings. So it's not really suitable for private equity investment, where the type of investment is different, and the type of investor is what's known as a qualified investor. That is, an investor who has expertise, such as an institutional investor or a high net worth individual. And therefore, most private equity funds would locate themselves in offshore centres in order not to be regulated in an inappropriate way. And this was always the case until the crisis of 2008 or 2009, and then it was felt because of the effect of the very large private equity mega funds who engaged in these very extremely large mega buyouts. It was felt by the authorities that they had contributed towards the destabilization of the financial system. And so what we saw was the 2010 United States Frank-Dodd Act, which was an act of Congress which was made in response to the crisis, and which contains some provisions relating to private equity funds. The particular one is that private equity funds over a certain size, which is about 150 billion, have to register with the SEC. In parallel to that, the European Union also introduced regulation of private equity fund managers in Europe in the Alternative Investment Fund Managers Directive of 2011. And this has several provisions, one of which is that funds over a certain size have to conform to certain reporting and governance standards, and there are also some restrictions on how private equity fund can be marketed within the European Union. But generally for funds in the mid-cap space, so funds of say 200 million or less, the regulation has quite a light touch, because the regulations are really designed for the very large mega funds which also engage in leverage. The final thing that I should mention is the effect of self-regulation, and this is the standards of IPEV and ILPA, which have been adopted by the industry on a voluntary basis, which have proved much more effective than legal regulations, and that will be the subject of another video.